answer for somebody like Katie.
All right, we're watching the president. This is the theme. You want to be more patriotic, then you better pay more taxes. The gist of the president's speech as we watch him now in L.A., the president ripping American companies who set up shop abroad so they can avoid the heavy tax burden here, to Mark Levin, who is here to rip it back, the constitutional lawyer, expert, historian, best-selling author, radio talk show host extraordinaire. All right, Mark, we haven't gotten to the gist of what the president really is going to get at in his speech, but very shortly he's going to say that these companies are running away from taxes here, responsibility here. You say what?
Wow, so all of a sudden national sovereignty and borders matter. How about that? I didn't know it mattered.
That's a very good point. You know that? That's an excellent point.
You know what, I'm going to tell you something. I lived through the Reagan administration. Do you remember businesses leaving America to go to socialist European countries? No.
Oh, sure.
No, very few.
But what we have going on here is a temptation where no matter how high those rates are, they're actually lower than they are in the United States.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. He's the problem. He's creating the economic conditions in this country where some of these countries are moving their headquarters overseas. Why doesn't he create the economic conditions where foreign companies move into the United States as they did 30, 40 years ago? The fact is, he's an economic illiterate. He doesn't like capitalism. He's a card-carrying ideologue for socialism. So we actually have companies moving their headquarters from the United States to the United Kingdom. Did you ever think you'd see that? He's unleashed the EPA, the FDA, the FTC, the NLRB, the Department of Labor, the Antitrust Division on America. The Canadians want to build a multi-billion-dollar pipeline in our country. Who's stopping them? He's stopping them. So people who want to come here and build plants, they're being stopped by the radical green movement. That's really the new red movement. They're being stopped by these government regulations, which they hold back till after the election, and then $40 billion worth pop on the United States. So he's the reason companies leave. He's the reason wealth is escaping the country.
Do you ever wonder, though, Mark, I always wonder that the tax code is ridiculously complicated, but it is the law of the land, and then if companies see a loophole that can allow them to go abroad or to merge with another foreign company and take advantage of the lower tax rates there, they're obviously going to do it. So I'm not naive about this, but I guess they wouldn't be doing it if rates were not so prohibitive here, right? I mean, that's pretty much basic math.
Of course it's right. Now, we've had an opportunity from time to time to look at Obama's tax returns. He's not overpaying. And Joe Biden, we see how stingy he is, and we know the Clintons put their homes in a trust. We know Obama's buying an over $4 million home in Rancho Mirage. We know that Michael Moore has 9 homes, and they spew on and on and on against capitalism. Well, guess what? The capitalists are listening, and they're saying, you know what? They hate us. They're attacking us. Bad days ahead, we're leaving. I have a suggestion for the president. Embrace free markets, embrace liberty, embrace wealth creation and opportunity creation. Then they'll stay, and foreign companies will come into this country. And by the way, secure the damn border. That is, make sure that we have a safe, stable law and working environment. These are all things he could do, which he won't.
Mark, what do you make of this basic fear the administration has of companies moving abroad, maybe because of the very policies you allude to, but giving Apple a pass? Now, Apple is building all of these new phones, or 100 million, bigger iPhones in largely China. And I don't hear much complaining about that. But it was like the big announcement that everyone ignored. Oh, they're going to build 100 million, bigger iPhones, but they're all being manufactured in Asia.
Yeah, he has his favorite companies. Apple, where the former head of the EPA now works, and where the spokes-propagandist before the current spokes-propagandist at the White House wants to work. GE is another of his favorite companies. So if you have CEOs and boards of directors that support the Democrat Party and him, they'll lay off. But otherwise, they won't. And he has created a very hostile environment for job creation and opportunity and wealth creation. And guess what? In a free country, or what's left of a free country, people respond. And so he can create incentives for people to stay and incentives for others to come. I don't mean just those who want to go on the welfare dole in this country. I mean those who actually want to create jobs. Look, if I'm a foreign company and I want to come into the United States and put a plant in, say, South Carolina, who's going to come after me? The unions with their friends at the NLRB, Obama's going to back them, and all of a sudden I'm in this spider's nest. I'm not going to deal with that. Or if I'm a company in this country and I'm in Canada and I want to move a plant to, say, Alabama, one of our remaining free states, what happens? They're set upon, too. So what do they say? You know what? I'm going to go to the UK. I'm going to go to France, for God's sake. It's better than here.
Michael Bloomberg was here yesterday from Jerusalem. He made that trip defying an FAA ban. He said that we've got to be strong about this. There was no reason for the ban. But in the context of our conversation, we got into other issues, including this immigration mess. And he said you can't deport millions of people who are already here back. That's unrealistic, nor can you willy-nilly take these tens of thousands of kids or teenagers, whatever they are, back because we don't know where they're from. That the Republican approach to this has been rigid and unyielding. You say what?
There is no Republican approach to this. I listened to a lot of that, and his ignorance was astounding to me. He was talking about law-abiding people. Our federal prisons, about 30% of our federal prisoners are legal and illegal immigrants, most of them from south of the border. Does he even know the facts? He doesn't live in these border communities. He doesn't have to deal with this. I would say this to Michael Bloomberg. If we're not going to deport millions of people, how about we secure the border before millions more come here so we don't have to talk about deporting them? And this idea that we don't deport children, you know, it's interesting, Neil, if you know the history of this as you do. Prior to 30 or 40 years ago, we deported all kinds of people. Yeah. We deported families. Cesar Chavez was leading the way, Ralph Abernathy, Walter Mondale, Dwight Eisenhower. These guys are out of touch, and the fact of the matter is no country can survive an open border, no economy can survive it, no culture can survive it. That's why every country that's deporting their future generations into this country, guess what? They have closed borders for people who want to come into those countries. They don't tolerate it. Only we do.
And it is odd that he was coming from Jerusalem, backing up a country that's aggressively defending its border. Maybe a very different example there.
Survival.
Finally, what do you think of the possible Republican crop of presidential candidates right now? Rand Paul leading in a lot of polls. What do you think of him?
I think we have some very, very good ones. Yeah, you ask me this every time. You want me to pick one
right
now, and I'm not going to do it.
Although I like listening to you bash a lot of the popular names, like Chris Christie. You still don't like him, do you?
No, I think Chris Christie is a man whose principles are up for negotiation. I don't even know what his principles are. He runs around talking about, we have to govern, we have to be bipartisan. I don't even know what he's talking about. Does he know what he's talking about? Or Jeb Bush, here in the face of this catastrophe on the southern border, he doesn't come out and take questions. He co-authors a piece in the Wall Street Journal editorial page, which has been radical open borders and amnesty for decades, and he says the Republicans must move on this issue. I don't know what the hell he's talking about or where the hell he's from.
Well, you know, they're considered mainstream Republicans, the two gentlemen you just mentioned, and I know you have been noting that a lot of the mainstream Republicans who were the preferred candidates by other mainstream Republicans in a lot of these primary races are having a devil of a time in the polls, aren't they?
Yes, they really are. You look at North Carolina, you look at Arkansas, you look at a number of these states. Here's the big lie that's been going on for election cycle after election cycle, advanced by, among others, Fox favorite Karl Rove. The fact of the matter is we've lost the Senate over and over and over again, not because of Todd Aiken, not because there are 2 or 3 or 4 Tea Party candidates. The vast majority of the candidates running are your Republican establishment candidates who've never had a fight in a Republican primary.
All right. Listen, I'll arrange the next dinner for you and Karl Rove. In the meantime, I've got to run upstairs and talk to my bosses. Be well.
God bless, brother.
Always good to see you. Mark Levin, he just tells it like he feels it and says it. So all opinions are welcome. Meanwhile, the VA wants to spend more money. But I'm thinking, wait, they already get $158 billion a year. Maybe money isn't the problem. Maybe how they're spending it is.